20 years of lies collapse in a single courtroom when the truth about Cody Brown finally explodes. The judge's gavel cracks through the silence, the wives freeze, and a secret no one was ever supposed to uncover tears the entire Brown family apart. This isn't just the end of a marriage or a show. This is the moment their entire world shatters. In the quiet stretch of a fading evening, a lone figure walked across the empty plain with thoughts swirling like dust around worn footsteps, and every motion carried the weight of stories never spoken, because the world had taught them to move silently, without pause or hesitation, and so they drifted onward, guided only by the dim glow of distant hopes buried beneath layers of uncertainty and memory. And as they continued across the widening horizon, there grew within them a sense of awakening that had long been smothered by the demands of countless unseen forces, shaping their days, shaping their nights, shaping everything in between. And yet, despite all of this, they found a spark, still alive, glimmering beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to breathe again and rise from the shadows. The path ahead seemed endless, but that did not matter because endurance had become second nature, woven deep into their bones through years of surviving moments that had tried to break them. And though the sky above stretched heavy with clouds of unspoken worry, they felt something stirring, something steady, something resilient that refused to fade no matter how many storms had passed. Before long, the memories of earlier days began to drift back, days filled with voices, laughter, dreams, and losses, each memory carrying its own weight and rhythm, merging into the present like a river returning to its source. And as these images settled across their mind, they felt the strange harmony of past and present intertwining, guiding each step forward in a journey that felt both familiar and entirely new. There had been times when they believed the world too vast, too unpredictable, too unforgiving to ever allow room for softness or wonder. But these thoughts now weakened under the quiet persistence of that spark within, reminding them that every ending they once feared had only been a misunderstanding of new beginnings, waiting for their next breath. They knew now that countless times of life had always offered a new chance, its own light waiting to pave the way. Has there ever been another beginning waiting to emerge, even when unseen? The plain they crossed stretched far into the distance, with no markers, no boundaries, no clear destination. And yet there was comfort in that openness, an invitation to move freely without the constraints that had shaped so much of their life until now. The air was thick with a calm that felt ancient, as though the land itself carried stories older than memory, stories etched in silence beneath the surface of every grain of earth. And as they walked, they felt the presence of those untold histories, brushing gently against them, whispering reminders that they were not alone, not now, not ever, even in moments when solitude felt infinite. The rhythm of their footsteps blended into a steady cadence, grounding them as they traveled deeper into the heart of the landscape, trusting that something awaited them, something undefined but necessary. And though uncertainty lingered, it no longer felt like an enemy. Instead, it felt like space, like possibility, like breath after a long-held silence. Every movement forward was an act of choosing to continue, choosing to hope, choosing to exist beyond the limits once imposed upon them. And each choice carried a subtle strength, gathering within them, piece by piece, until it formed a quiet resilience that glowed softly beneath the surface. Much of their past had been built on enduring forces beyond their control, forces that shaped the roads they walked and dictated the choices they made. But now, as the horizon stretched open in every direction, they felt the first tremor of freedom, a delicate realization that they could shape their own path, not through grand gestures, but through the simple, steady act of moving forward, one step at a time. The landscape shifted as they walked, the textures of the earth changing from soft dust to rough stone, and then to a gentle firmness that supported each step with a subtle reassurance. And the wind moved differently here, carrying not the harsh cries of distant storms, but the low, gentle hum of a world quietly observing, quietly listening, quietly welcoming whatever came next. They had spent years searching for something, though they could never quite name it. A sense of belonging, perhaps, or a peace that did not demand pieces of their soul as payment. But the search had often led them through places that took more than they gave and left them emptier than before. Yet now, as they moved through this quiet expanse, they felt something loosening inside, something releasing its grip, like a long-held tension finally exhaling. And with that exhale came a clarity that they had not expected, a clarity that whispered that perhaps the thing they had sought for so long was not a place, nor a person, nor a moment, but simply the freedom to exist without fear. The sky began to shift as the last traces of daylight slipped beyond the edge of the world, leaving behind a soft, dim glow that stretched gently across the horizon like the closing pages of a long-remembered story. And in this fading light, they found comfort, not in certainty, but in the quiet acceptance of what lay ahead. This journey, they realized, was not about reaching a destination, but about rediscovering themselves, piece by piece, moment by moment, breath by breath. And with this understanding came a sense of peace, subtle but steady, settling within them like warmed earth after rain. The wind brushed lightly against their face, carrying the faint scent of distant places and memories, blending into a tapestry of sensations that reminded them of all they had endured and all they had yet to experience. And they embraced these sensations fully, letting them fill the spaces once occupied by fear. Their pace slowed not from exhaustion, but from a desire to take in every detail, every shift in the air, every change in the light, every whisper of the land around them, because for the first time in a long time, they felt present, fully present within themselves and within the world that stretched endlessly. The drive away from the courthouse feels unreal. The city lights blur across the windshield as Christine sits in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, her mind running through every moment that led them to this night. Janelle is driving, hands tight around the wheel, her breath steady but her eyes heavy with everything she has carried for years. Mary sits in the back seat, leaning her head against the cold window, watching raindrops slide in crooked paths, as if the sky itself is unraveling. Beside them, the car is quiet, except for the hum of the engine, each woman lost in her own thoughts, in her own memories, in her own battles. They have walked different roads, but all those roads led here. And now for the first time, their future is not tied to the man who pulled them into his orbit and held them there. The city fades behind them, replaced by long stretches of dark highway. The world feels bigger somehow, as if the absence of Cody has made more space for air, for thought, for hope. Christine finally breaks the silence, her voice soft and tired. She says, "Do you think the kids will hate us for letting it get to this?" Janelle shakes her head, never taking her eyes off the road. "They won't hate us. They will understand one day." Mary closes her eyes, feeling the weight of her own guilt, her own mistakes. She whispers, "We protected him too long. Maybe we protected him more than he ever protected us." Christine exhales slowly because she knows it is true. For years, they shielded Cody, defended him, justified him, even when he was tearing them apart piece by piece. Janelle turns onto a quieter road, leading toward Christine's house. The night deepens, the trees swaying like dark shadows, bending and stretching under the wind. Christine watches the movement and thinks about all the things she lost, trying to hold on to something that was never stable to begin with. She thinks about the years she tried to be the perfect wife, the calm one, the patient one, the believer. She thinks about the nights she cried alone, the mornings she forced a smile, the afternoons she lied to herself and to the cameras, telling the world they were happy, when they were drowning inside. Now the truth is out, and she feels both lighter and heavier. Lighter because she is free. Heavier because freedom means facing the reality of everything that happened. The car turns onto the gravel driveway, the loud crunch of stones under the tires grounding them in the moment. Janelle parks, and the three women sit quietly, unsure of what to do next, because tonight is the first night they walk into a life Cody is not part of. Mary opens the door first, the cold air rushing in as if welcoming them into a world that is finally honest. She steps out, shoulders trembling but head high. Christine follows her, her heart thudding not with fear, but with the kind of nervous excitement that comes from stepping into the unknown. Janelle lingers in the car, eyes on the steering wheel, thinking about her children, thinking about the future, thinking about whether she is strong enough to rebuild from the pieces Cody left scattered inside her. She finally steps out, shutting the door slowly, the sound echoing through the quiet night. Together they walk toward the house, the porch light casting a warm glow that feels like an embrace. Christine unlocks the door, and they step inside. The living room is dim, the soft hum of the heater the only sound. Mary moves to the couch and sinks into the cushions like someone who has run miles through a storm and finally found shelter. Janelle stands near the doorway, arms crossed as if defending herself from memories. Christine goes to the kitchen, pours water for each of them, and sets the glasses on the table. She sits across from Mary and Janelle, and for a moment, they simply look at each other. Three women who spent years competing for the attention of one man, sitting now as allies, not rivals. Mary finally speaks, her voice low and raw. "Everything we thought we were building, everything he said we were fighting for, none of